Hello, my name is Alex and welcome to my channel. In the previous video I was talking about what you need for music production, and one of the points was a DAW. And like I said before, DAWs are doing the same thing, it's just the workflows and the prices that are different. And today I wanted to talk about what I like in my DAW of choice, which is Ableton Live. But before we start, what a DAW actually is. DAW is a digital audio workstation, and it's like a fully functional real analog studio inside your computer. And with the help of a DAW you can create, record or edit audio in many ways. And I've tried different DAWs along the way. I've tried Cakewalk, Fruity Loops when it wasn't even a full studio, Studio One, Ableton Live, and the last one was Pro Tools. DAW is important because it's a primary workspace for audio production. You'll be using it every day for every single project. So here are 10 reasons why I ended up using Ableton Live. Reason number one why I love Ableton Live. Ableton Live is extremely versatile. Sound design, tracking, mixing, mastering, DJing, live performance. With Ableton Live you can do it all. And you may have spotted some famous DJs like David Guetta, Gabry Ponte, Underworld, and some of the most notable YouTube music producers like Andrew Horn, Rachel K. Collier, Bad Snacks, Neon Vines, and many more using it in their studios, on the go, on stage, and even on the plane. And Ableton has a reputation of being a great tool for EDM production, but it doesn't mean that you can do only EDM with it. We did a lot of covers from different genres in Ableton Live and never had an issue. So if you want to become a sound designer, can you use Ableton Live for that? Yes, you can. If you want to become a mixing or mastering engineer, can you use Ableton Live for that? Yes, you can. If you want to become a DJ or bring Ableton Live with you on stage, can you do it? Yes, you can. So long story short, it really is just so versatile, it can fit any need. And by the way, it is cross-platform, which means you can use it both on Windows and on Mac. Reason number two why I love Ableton Live. Ableton Live's workflow is very fast. There is little to no micromanagement. You just fire it off and you're ready to go. And there is no mandatory settings that you have to go through every single time you start a new project. And there is no endless confirmations for every action, and there is no popping up lists of options to choose from when doing small things like adding a new track. There is no need to add essential things like master track or click track to every new project because they are already there right from the start. And don't worry if you accidentally delete something important. You don't need to recreate it from scratch, it can simply be restored by performing undo. I know that some of these things are really obvious, but the reason other DAWs may be lacking them is what makes me value this point even more. Reason number three why I love Ableton Live. Ableton Live's user interface is uncluttered. Some people even call it boring, but in fact it helps a lot because it doesn't create distractions. And actually Ableton Live's interface is quite flexible, and you can hide areas you don't use right now and bring them back anytime you need them again. And this allows you to adjust the interface to the needs of the current production stage. You can stay focused and expect things to be where they are supposed to be, and as long as you don't use third-party tools or plugins, which eventually you will do anyway, you won't even see a single floating window. And speaking of third-party tools, there is a way to integrate them into Ableton's interface so that they become as easy to use as Ableton's own tools. And additionally, if you have a dual screen set up, you can open Ableton's secondary window and move it there, which means you can always have both Ableton Live's views, yes there are two, right in front of you. Reason number four why I love Ableton Live. Ableton Live is very easy to learn. There is typically two challenges before any new producer or engineer. They need to learn engineering and they need to learn a DAW. What's great about Ableton Live is that it doesn't have lots of menus full of strange and unknown words to scroll through, as most things happen pretty much locally. And if you are confused with something, there is a dedicated help section that gives you hints on almost anything you'll be hovering your mouse over within Ableton Live. Besides, and this is one of my most favorite features, you can put exact numbers into most fields, which gives you an amazing opportunity to change different values little by little and see the exact response to these actions. And that way you can learn and better understand not only a DAW but also third-party plugins and engineering itself. Reason number 5 why I love Ableton Live. Ableton Live's stock tools are really good. There is a common opinion that stock plugins of any DAW are average at best, and for that reason you'll find plethora of YouTube videos praising these or that plugins. However, the funny thing is that some of Ableton Live's stock plugins were made by third-party companies like AAS or Softube. And I can say from my own experience that with Ableton Live I use third-party plugins only on some specific areas or stages of music production like saturation, reverb or mastering. And on top of that, there's a developer's package called Max for Live that allows you to become a plugin developer yourself if you have such desire and capabilities. And in that case you'll be given access to the very core of audio signal manipulations. So don't be surprised to find other engineers using Max for Live for developing their own Ableton Live tools. And finally, keep in mind that Ableton's warping mode is the best in class, to the point that sometimes Ableton Live is used as a secondary DAW for this feature alone. Reason number 6 why I love Ableton Live. Ableton Live has racks. And this topic well deserves a couple of videos on its own, but racks are my absolute top feature of Ableton Live. In short, racks allow you to build your own drum racks, instruments or chains of effects. Apply complex audio routing within these racks, including the serial or parallel processing. Assign control knobs to some of these racks parameters so that they become adjustable by MIDI controllers. And all of it can be saved and recalled in any Ableton Live project. From the engineering standpoint, it just means that if you need some tools that Ableton doesn't have, chances are that you can make your own using Ableton's basic modules via racks. And of course it can be shared with Ableton Live users, so expect these racks to be available from other producers online. Reason number 7 why I love Ableton Live. With Ableton Live, it's easy to share tracks among other Ableton Live projects. It's important to note that I'm not talking about audio files here, because the whole idea is that you can actually open the contents of another project via Ableton Live's browser, grab whatever you want and directly import it to your current project, keeping all of the audio clips, plugins and their settings intact. And as of Ableton Live 12, you can even import master tracks this way. What an awesome time saver and speed booster. Reason number 8 why I love Ableton Live. Ableton Live's licenses are perpetual. And as far as I know, as of today, there are no plans of introducing subscription models. This essentially means that you buy it once, but because Ableton Live comes in several tiers, there are upgrade plans available for the difference in price. You'll also need to pay for a new major version, but even then, Ableton started giving discounts prior to big releases lately. And the good news is that the lowest tier can be found bundled with different hardware like MIDI controllers or audio interfaces. So if you have one, check whether you actually have an Ableton Live Lite license already. Reason number 9 why I love Ableton Live. Ableton Live has expansion packs. Typically, the term expansion packs is applied to audio files collections. However, due to Ableton Live actually has plenty of file types of its own for different purposes, you can also expect to find audio tools or instruments in some of these packs. Anyway, the packs section of Ableton's website is very worth checking out. Reason number 10 why I love Ableton Live. Ableton Live has its own MIDI controllers. You can actually use almost any MIDI controller with Ableton Live, but there are some of them that were created and designed to work specifically with this DAW. In 2013, Ableton Push was released as the first ever Ableton Live controller. Push 2 improved and updated, followed in 2015. In 2023, 10 years after Push 1, Ableton released Push 3, the first standalone Ableton Live controller which comes with a built-in audio interface. And in 2024, Ableton has released a new controller named Ableton Move, which now makes its way into producer studios. Like I said before, if you want to get rid of mouse and keyboard and want to produce in Ableton Live, take a closer look at these controllers. And that's it for today. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe so that we can stay in touch. And if you want to dive deeper into Ableton world, I expect to see you in the next video where I will be talking about Ableton Live's user interface in more detail. Until then, take care. Bye bye. See you.